Welcome, Jason. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Dan, good to see you. Excited to debrief, dive into, and talk more about this third episode for this incredible webcast series.
Absolutely. I'm excited. This is probably one of my favorite ones so far out of all three that we've done. I also think it was the most pivotal because, the subject, right? So we're talking, episode three is tell your story. I think it's so important for advisors and financial professionals to be able to communicate their value to their frontline staff. Without that, I mean, there's really not much.
Right,
I've
and
seen.
I hate to jump in and interrupt you, but I just had to real quickly. I know what probably some people are already thinking. Like, why should I have to tell my story and make sure that the frontline staff team knows? Like, I'm too busy. And so I'd love for you to address that for a second because that's just a powerful thing that happens when we go, wait a minute, no, 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 this is my job.
So great point. And what I see, and this is a true fact across my footprint, across my career, the best financial professionals that are out there are the ones that have the best relationships with their frontline staff and their bankers. No questions about it. Why is it important for them to share who they are and sell their vision? Because without that, how can they help you achieve your vision if they don't know what it is? We talk a lot about that in the field, and I think it's so important for advisors to see that and really partner with their frontline and their bankers. And the way you do that is, you communicate your story and how, what you're looking to achieve with those individuals and how it's going to help them and help you, and more importantly, help the firm grow and build their brand with
Right.
people. And we
Right.
talk about trust all the time, right?
I love it. And sometimes the word story is used a lot, right? Like we talk about story a ton, but sometimes it goes hand in hand with vision. And your vision, it's a story. And so you've really you've got to learn how to become a storyteller. And we talk a lot about this with the Speak with Your Client training series, and in the new client communication playbook, I talk about we do a whole chapter on being a story catcher because you got to be able to sit and listen to your clients and catch different parts of their story. It's the same with your coworkers. Like you're not going to build the trust if you're not doing the time. You're not doing the time like you have to. But if
That's
you're
funny.
not spending the time, standing over the Keurig waiting for coffees and asking about, Michelle's son who, just made the 8U baseball team or whatever. Those are the important things to know. So when you circle back and say, "Hey Michelle, did you know if you have, any customers along XXX, you got to tell me about them," so they understand that. That's, it's so incredibly important, but sometimes it just falls on the wayside. And we've got to make sure we raise that up because it's so important to be able to understand it. And one of the things that hits me all the time, it's a great leader, I'm trying to remember his name, but I think his name is Andy Stanley. He talked all the time about how vision leaks. And sometimes we think, right, at the monthly huddle, I share my thing, they should remember it all. There are so many pieces of information running through their heads all day long. You've got to keep selling the vision. And, in the episode, we talked about it. And I love that in your home studio, you have that sign right behind you, but it has three, points on it. And one of those is to sell the vision.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's dear to me. That's one of my three main characteristics, I guess, when I bring what I bring to my daily workday, right? And those three things are: be intentional in everything you do. So if you're a financial professional, be intentional. Make sure you're building those relationships and you're getting to know your bankers and your frontline uh, staff in order to build that energy and build that synergy with the whole branch. And if you have multiple branches, that's important. Second, now not later. Have a sense of urgency. 12 months go by really fast. You're building your book of business. You're building towards goals. Your clients are getting older. These are all things where urgency really wins the day. So now, not later. And then last, it's sell the vision. You cannot achieve your goals without selling the vision to everyone. And that's something that's one of my core values, and something when I feel passionate about something, I like to sell the vision. And I think our financial professionals out there that are selling the vision are probably the most successful because they're getting other people to help them achieve that vision.
It, and we can edit this out if I'm going to a place I'm not supposed to. But didn't recently one of the financial professionals that we've met at different things didn't they do a bowling night with some of their team? And I think of those type of moments where it's like, okay, we're all busy, we all have a million things to do at night, but even the time that leader took to spend time with their frontline team, oh my goodness, like that just did nothing but build trust. So when you have the opportunity to sell the vision, there's so much more receptive to it.
Absolutely. The individual that you just mentioned, I mean, his great example. Relatively new advisor, eager to learn, a sponge for knowledge. But what I was most impressed about by far is the relationships he built inside his financial center. You could feel the energy when I walked in. We talked about in episode one, right? I walked in, I had two, three people come up to me and say, "Oh, you must be Dan. How are you? Oh, you excited about tonight? Oh, it's this person's birthday. We're gonna have fun." And they were excited about the training, and it was just the atmosphere was awesome. And they took pictures with them for his birthday. They had jokes made up. It was really fun to be a part of. We took pictures, and we ended up going bowling, where he got this, you know, in a friendly setting, a fun setting. He got to share his vision, what he wants to, where he wants to go, where he wants to take the branch, how he wants to be successful, how he laid out the pathway. It was just really impressive. Again, I expect high expectations from him. He's gonna blow it out of the water. It's gonna take him some time, but I mean he's on the right track for sure.
I love it. Okay, so let's dive in for a second because I know it probably seems like one of those things that we all know, and I'm gonna put up a slide here for a second. Wrong slide. Here it is. But there are some common reasons why our teams don't refer, and it's partly because we haven't told the story. We haven't sold the vision. And so it's things like they're just not clear on how the financial professional can help because we haven't done the job. There's some uncertainty there. There's assumptions that are made about the clients. That client doesn't need the financial professional.
And that's
Uh,
probably the biggest mistake being made by inexperienced frontline.
yep,
See someone come in, you assume they're in just for making a transaction. They're wearing what you're getting your biases based on what the client's wearing, what they look like. But
yep,
that's all in our head, man. That's an obstacle that's an obstacle that we put in front of ourselves.
yep,
You never
yep.
know when the next referral is coming, with the next opportunity is walking into your branch. You should treat everyone the same, and bring the energy for everyone that walks in the branch.
That's so good. And the last couple, there's just not the personal relationship. We just, you know, talked about that incredible bowling night. Even moments like that, they don't have the kind of relationship where they can actually talk about that. Or the last common reason was there's just prior negative experiences, like maybe they tried before and then the financial professional never followed up. um, Sometimes we get a little territorial, and so that doesn't help. And so we gotta stay away from those things. We have to understand it's on our shoulders to tell the story. Vision leaks, and we've got to find ways to tell it over and over. Now, the big part is sometimes when we tell stories, And I'll just put myself in, in the shoe for a second, as I'm talking with some of my frontline team, teller or licensed banker or whoever. And instead of saying, you know what, guys, you already know this. Like I'm pretty incredible at what I do. And so I think you should refer people to me because I'm the best. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but like you talked about earlier, so often we make the story about us and the story can't be about us. And so I remember once someone, I can't remember if it was like a Russell Bronson webinar, big funnel guy or who it was, Grant Cardone or Patrick Bet David, one of these giants of sales and all that. But they just said, your client doesn't care about your pain. They care about their pain. And so it's the same thing with our colleagues. Yes, once the trust is built there, yes, they're going to care about us and all that. But we're there to serve them. We're there to build a relationship with them. We're there to help build a referral culture. And so it starts with understanding their pain, stepping out of the hero for a second and becoming the guide. And so when you're the guide, you're now Yoda, you're now Obi-Wan, you're now, those type of guides, and you're walking alongside of them. And so that's why it's so important to understand how story works.
I agree. You'd mentioned lack of relationships inside the branches. And I'll tell you what I see a lot, and this is common. Like sometimes it blows me away, but you know, I go around and do a ton of training, as you can imagine, with this series. But we do a lot of referral training inside the financial centers across my footprint. And every once in a while, I get advisors that say they're not interested, and I mean, I, I, I have a hard time, really grasping it that they're not interested in building up the people around them. Uh, the main when that happens, and it's rare, but it happens. The main reason is high turnover,
Mm,
right? Or I don't have time, or it's not my job to train them. I've heard a ton of different reasons, but the reality is, it's if you want to be successful, it's your responsibility as a financial professional to teach the people around you to get you the referrals. I mean, that's the main reason why a lot of people work inside the financial institutions, because there's a referral base there. You have existing clients that you can call on and talk. So that's something that I just never really fully understood. Um, but I will tell you, it's the most important is to have that ability to communicate and to build those relationships. And here's the thing: it's almost a catch-22. Maybe the reason there's not a whole lot of continuity and you have a lot of turnover is you're not building those relationships. If people felt valued and they were energized and they felt like they were part of something bigger than themselves, and that's all your job as a financial professional. That's all on you to
yep.
convey that to the team.
Yep.
No matter if you have one branch or you have four branches, it's that, and those are the financial professionals that have the most success, are the ones that can do that, communicate, build the trust. The individual that we just talked about, uh, you could feel it in the conversation. There was so much energy when I walked into that financial center, and it's rare. Like, I don't see that a lot, but there was so much energy. There was laughing. There was
Yep.
this, just genuine friendship.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that that team's going to work for him to get people in front of him so he could be successful. People want people to be successful if they like them and
Yep.
they believe in what they're doing. And it's all about selling that vision. And so this is something I was just thinking about as you mentioned, that relationships,
I love that.
having that relationship with your bankers or your front line is an
Yeah.
obstacle.
Well, and so, we talk all the time, and I think we talked about it in episode 1 or 2 or one of the podcasts. But, as a financial professional, as we go to networking events, we have to be prepared to answer the the question that we all get. Well, what do you do? And so instead of saying I'm a financial advisor, I am financial advisor, I work for so and so. Okay, well, you didn't really set yourself out there. Learn how to tell the story. Learn how to tell the story of what you do. And so, as important as it is to have a story like that for potential clients, we say it's as important to have a story for your colleagues. So, yeah, I
Absolutely.
guarantee you, if you went and surveyed some of the frontline team, and you say, "Hey, what does Donald do over there? He's our financial professional," and I bet it'd be a higher percentage that are like, it's a great guy, does financials,
Like,
So to have that colleague pitch as well, that colleague, elevator pitch, we actually shared one in the podcast, but something like, I help customers plan for life goals. I make you look good by taking great care of those you refer. It could be something as simple as that, that speaks into your brand, because we're all, passionate about different things. And so, being able to have that. So when you do have those conversations, you've built the trust, you built the relationships. Now they know, as they're talking with a client or, potential customer, and they're like, oh my goodness, want to save for college, you've got to talk with Donald. Those kind of things. That's why it's so important to be able to know what you do and how to communicate it.
yeah, I agree. It's fun to watch. And look, it's fun to go in and train and be a part of the branches and being be welcomed in to that team. So I enjoy doing it, and I love seeing you interact with advisors when you're brought in to do speeches and presentations and
Yeah.
training. We really get to learn a lot from financial professionals, right? We get to learn from the front line. I
Oh,
think a
it's
lot of it,
incredible. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of our research comes from what we're seeing inside the financial
Yeah.
centers.
And the new resource we're going to put out soon, the client communication playbook, so much of that has been from conversations we've had with advisors or licensed bankers or investment managers or program managers. Just hearing all of their stories has been so powerful. You were talking about how fun it is to go inside. Do you remember when we were, was it Sarasota or Fort Myers? We did one where, I mean, we were in like the tiniest conference room, and we did a whole presentation in there, but the conversation was just so charged and exciting, and people were sharing ideas back and forth. That you know those type of moments are great, because then they, you and I left, but then they go back to their roles, and it kind of gave them like a little boost for that day.
Oh, they loved it. I mean, remember they were taking pictures with you?
Yeah. or
All right,
or maybe it's because you brought the all the swag, and
yeah, maybe.
you
I like
know
to think it was the content.
Yes, it was that. But it was great. We also, in the episode, we talked about, some of the strategy that we need, because we forget some of these things. And so I think sometimes we struggle with, well, it's not really my job to make sure they know, me. Well, yeah. Like we've talked about this entire episode, it is. And so, things like a day one introduction, their first day, like, make it memorable for them, stand out, be a part of the, regular huddles, you know, again, share the success stories. Like we talked about vision leaks. And so if you're not following back up with them and telling them what came of the, referral, your likelihood of them referring again just lowered and lowered and lowered. So come back to them with the story. You'll never believe what happened with Donald. Thank them. Do all of those different kind of things. Demystify the process. Like sometimes we're like, oh, I don't know. A banker could be like, okay, I think they could have, well, give them some of the process, and then like we even talked. We're singling out that incredible financial professional from earlier, but what they do so well is
Great.
they're visible, right? They're approachable. They don't have any walls up. And so, those are some of the strategy things
You know,
that.
one thing I'll just point out that I think is pertinent as we talk about this is that, and I never really thought about it until right now in this moment, but I think one of his best qualities with his team is he's vulnerable, and I love
Mm,
that. I love the fact that he's
yeah.
vulnerable. He makes himself so more humanistic, right? So he's a new advisor. He's afraid to make mistakes. But he's telling the people around him that he's going to do his best to make sure that he does the best for his client, regardless of his,
Yep.
I don't know how to say it, but regardless of you know the different products and stuff, he just wants to provide them the best resources to make them reach their goals.
Yeah.
That vulnerability, I think, has really made his team gravitate toward him. I mean, that's simple things like that. Is just being authentic,
Yep.
right? How important is authentic when it comes to building relationships and building trust, not only with your clients but with your colleagues. And I think
Oh,
a lot of times the colleagues get overlooked, right? Especially in situations where you may be competing with colleagues. But
yep.
the reality is, if you're able to build those relationships, that's the most important. That your team is the most important. I mean,
Yeah.
the Yankees don't win without being, a great team, and that's true for all great teams, right? It's just the way it goes. And you don't think of yourself as a one man show, but your team around you, and you got to put the time and effort in to kind of show that authenticity, who you are, and sell your vision.
I love that. And like you talked about, we talked about some of these moments. We even in the episode we talked about a case study where, especially those of you out there who, you're in multiple places, right? Maybe you have a home base, but you spend time at multiple places and you try to get to each of them. Uh, this study talked about how even if you rename, you know, when you come to the financial center to like a road show or even something fun like that, and you brought lunch or partnered with another organization to do lunch. I was just remembering when we were in St. Petersburg for that branch, and we you you had brought the whole, what was it? It was, I can't remember the spread, but it was to watch the tellers, the bankers, all the team walk in when you had this giant spread of food. It was unreal. And
I think
again,
that
we're
was Cracker
crammed in this conference room, but they're
Day. Yeah,
eating, laughing. We're going through the presentation. That
good stuff.
that advisor, I mean, he like our role in this is to make them the hero. And so they walked away being the hero that day.
They did. They did. That was fun, man. That was a fun time.
We need to
You know,
follow up with him.
one of the things that I find interesting is I truly believe the financial center and the times we're in are changing dramatically. We say this a lot about wholesaling and being in the branches and bringing value and how people communicate differently, and that's a big part of what we do is help guide people on how to communicate better as communication changes in our culture. And I think the days of being a financial advisor where you're in the corner office by yourself is kind of fading. And the reality is, it is all about your brand. It is all about how people look at you and see you and how they build trust. And a big part of that brand is how you treat the people around you, because they're basically the first touch of your brand,
Yep.
like it or not. They sit in the same branch as you or the financial center as you. They are part of your brand. So you want to control that brand. You want to be in part of their lives, and you want to help make them successful. In doing that, it will come back to you in twofold,
Yeah.
and you will have a lot of success at your firm and with your clients.
Yeah. And then I'll slap up this slide from the episode, but this is it. Like, be the best teammate anyone has ever experienced. I mean, that's just exactly what you're talking about. I I mean, those type of things. It's as simple as learning the names, learning their families, all the stuff that you're doing for your clients, do for your colleagues. Because if you really want to have the kind of culture that's referring, you got to model it every single day. You have to model it every single day. It's just how important it is, and it becomes the gold standard. And it's it's that. And I'll put up one other slide because I was just thinking about it because thinking about gold standard, this is where I got that. But when internal trust is high, even staff refer their families. And so there you go. That's the gold standard. So you really know, like at the end of the day, if you're like, how am I doing? Okay. Well, if one of the staff referred their family member to me, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would show really that you're effective with building that trust and making those people feel important. It's all about people in today's world. It's funny. The further and deeper we get into AI and digital culture, and the more and more important it is to be human, to have interactions,
Yes.
to trust people, to build those relationships. Because
Yep.
without those relationships, you're going to slowly be disconnected. And I think, as you know, it seems silly to talk about, but as a customer and as someone who's getting ready to retire, or like, you have a need to be with people,
Yeah.
especially older clients. A lot of older clients don't have the network that they were used to having. They
Yep.
come into the branch for that connection, for that conversation, for they hear their name, to feel important. As a financial professional, you really have to embrace that now more than ever, because it's just the way it is. People are getting more sucked into the digital culture, especially the younger generation. So how do we draw out that interaction? And that's going to be a challenge for everyone over the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah. And that's why a little shameless plug in the playbook that Speak with People is producing the client communication playbook. Right in the introduction, we start with the if you want to see a swing in trust in your clients, just communicate more frequently. That's it.
That's it.
And so I remember we were doing a training. I don't know if you were at this one, but we were in a room with, probably 60 advisors from a credit union, and we're talking about, just this concept. Guy raises his hand. He's like, I got 900 clients, 900 on my book. I was like, okay, well, there's probably an internal problem there. Like, you know, I don't know if anybody can. So, where do you start? I don't know if you start with like, the top 10% of assets under management. I don't know, where you do it, but there's a great leadership principle out there that says do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. And so as much as you can, pour into those client relationships, but pour into the coworkers and the colleagues, because those type of things drive it. And one of the things we talked about at the end of the podcast was that if you really want more referrals, communicate more. I mean, that's just it. We think, oh, we're top of the mind, we're top of mind, everybody's thinking about us all the time. Guess what?
Yeah.
They're not thinking about you. Now, if you're a pain in the butt to work with, if you always take the last K cup from the Keurig, if you never replace anything, yeah, they're probably thinking about you. But you don't want to do
Not
those
in a
things.
positive way.
No.
That's great. Yeah. Look, I've been doing this for a long time inside the financial centers, and the one thing that I always go back to is I always feel like the banks are the center of the community, because you have, most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, you have multicultural individuals inside the financial centers trying to help the community reach their retirement goals.
Yep.
And it's just good people trying to help other people. It really is. And if you can tap into that, there's sky's the limit. I mean,
Yep.
people are your most important asset. They're their most important tool to be successful. And when you get to watch people be successful, you get to help people. I mean, that's one of the reasons I love doing what I do, because I get to help other people be successful in what they do.
Yep.
You can help someone who's been doing it for 20 years. You can help someone who's been doing it for 20 days.
Yeah.
And just to watch others have success and grow
Yep.
is is so great. So I don't understand how you cannot enjoy working with other, your front line to help build them up in order for you to get those referrals. And the more referrals, the more opportunities you're going to have to build a book of business, to help people, to grow your revenue, and to differentiate yourself amongst your peers.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And that's huge. And that's why I've been loving this webcast. And that's why I just think it's so incredibly important to be able to get the reminders of this type of thing. So I can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely. So, Jason, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Excited for episode 4. It's going to be pretty solid. It's going to come out in a week and a half, and I'm looking forward to it. And I love these conversations that we're having. I like diving a little bit deeper. So I appreciate you, man, and looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah, you too. Can't wait.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.